Hello, hello. Welcome to Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy, Episode 7 Essential Strategies for Deepening Intimacy and Communication in Your Relationship. I am so glad and so honored. Your time is very valuable, and that you took your time to be here live or to watch the recording to learn more about improving your relationship. Dr. Littner, unfortunately, life happens. And guess what? Yesterday, Dr. Littner, who was going to join us this evening, had a little bit of a home crisis. Everything's okay, but she's dealing with a problem and in the house that has to be dealt with, and it was sort of emergent. So she's not going to be able to join us this evening. She is coming back April 15th. So be sure and come back and join us April 15th for Keeping the Flame Alive in Relationships. But tonight, we have so much to dive in with relationships. We have upcoming relationships counselors coming on, therapists. We have all kinds of different people. And I do a fair amount of that. I do train residents in my clinic on how to do couple therapy. One of my students actually will be joining us at the beginning of May. She graduated and now has her own clinic and is doing very well and will be joining us. But we're going to dive in deep into relationships this evening, and it should be a good session. So I'm so happy you're here, and I hope you learn a lot. I know I've learned a lot from my training in couple therapy. I did train at the Gottman Institute, did level 1 and 2, and I did train with Andrew Christensen in integrative behavioral couple therapy for a full year. I had supervision, and it was great. So we are going to talk about a lot of things, but catch us on social media. And gosh, we need at least 100 followers on Facebook. So on Facebook, don't forget to follow us, because then we can stream live directly to you on Facebook. But we just need you to follow us. So if you are a Facebook person, please, please, please follow us. When we get 100 people, we can stream live. Our website, just so you know, you can watch old episodes. You can find out about upcoming episodes. Don't forget to visit the website. It has all kinds of good stuff on there. And you can also go through your social media. And as you know, you can listen to us in your car. We are on Spotify. We are on podcast. We are on iMusic, all those different things. So enjoy listening to us on those different streaming things, audio-wise. If you want to watch the videos, you can do it from the website, from YouTube, all those other places. So just want to remind you that all are welcome here, regardless of your sexual orientation, your gender identity, and or your relationship style. Everybody's welcome here. Whatever that is, it's all good. Remember, our goal is simple. Our goal is to just simply enlighten and inform you with evidence-based information to improve sexual health, to deepen intimacy with your partner, and to enrich your relationship. So today, on that note, we are going to be discussing relationships. One of the great paradoxes in life with things like intimacy is that what we most desire, we also most fear. And intimacy is very much that way. We desperately want deep connection with the love of our life, right? Yet to become intimate is to become vulnerable. And that's scary for a lot of us. As we learn more about this subject, remember, you were designed for deep connection with others. The challenges in life have made you guard and shield yourself, right? But you are made for intricate connection and emotional engagement with others. Who doesn't want to feel truly seen and valued by the most important people in our lives? So be brave and vulnerable and choose love. So tonight, I hope that special love of your life is with you and you can snuggle up on the couch as we talk about these relationships and things that might enhance or improve your relationship. Let's dive into the talk and go through what we got for you today. Again, a lot of this work is based on the work of John and Julie Gottman. The Gottman Institute was established decades ago. They have decades, over 30 years of experience watching, monitoring, researching couples, thousands and thousands of couples. So much of what I'm going to present tonight is built on that science that they've discovered by watching couples and learning from couples. So let's remind ourselves first, what's intimacy? Well, I like these definitions and I've shared them with you, I think, in the very first episode. But intimacy refers to a deep and meaningful connection characterized by emotional closeness, trust, and mutual understanding, where you feel truly known, accepted, and valued. I like that definition. Now, Elaine Hatfield said that it's a process by which two people attempt to move towards complete communication on all levels: verbal, nonverbal, complete and total communication. Relationships. Yeah. We all need connectedness and intimacy. And you've heard me say before, if you've watched other episodes, that this is not optional. We are literally hardwired, and there's science to prove we have to be connected to others. From the day we're born onward, we have to connect to other humans. It can be life-threatening in infants not to bond or connect with a human. As we move through life, we still continue to need that deep connectedness with other human beings. Make no mistake, you might want to deny it. You might want to think it's not real, but it's real. We are all hardwired for intricate connection with others. We desperately want to be understood. We desperately want to be accepted as our authentic self and hope our partner will give us that. But are you curious about your partner? And do you desperately want to understand and accept them for their authentic self? That's really, really important. Staying curious about your partner is incredibly, incredibly valuable. So I hope you're still curious. I have been married. We're going to be married. We're going on 39 years. That's a long time. And I still think there's things I discover and learn about my wife all the time. Your partner, you may discover different things about them too, but stay curious. Are you still excited when they walk in the door to see them again after you've been at work or been away or whatever? I think that curiosity can be very important. Can we be and stay curious about our partner and accept and love them unconditionally? That is a tough call. So not putting if you do this, I love you. If you can do that, I love you. This is, I love you for exactly who you authentically are, and I believe in you. That is mature love. Now, we all know there's that beginning love where, hey, the hormones are raging, everything's crazy, and you can't think of anything else but that person. But that doesn't last long, research shows over and over. But mature love is a choice. It's an action. It's something we do every day to enhance and build our relationship. So Gottman came up with this theory, and it's called the sound house relationship Gottman theory. So the sound house relationship theory says that your relationship is like a house. The foundation of your house is a solid friendship. And you build that friendship through things like love maps. What are love maps? They're questions and things you go through together to try and understand, sometimes simple little things about each other, but to more deeply understand or know each other. So building love maps, working on really understanding your partner, putting your phone down, your social media down, and having direct eye contact. Eye-to-eye contact builds up dopamine, which causes greater connection. So lots of things happen with your brain and your body when you actually put down your phone and talk face to face. Research has shown it can be really helpful. Another way to build your friendship, remember, this is the foundation. The whole house is built on the friendship that you and your lover have. So that friendship is monumentally important. But that shared fondness and admiration for each other, that you truly treasure and care about that person, and you let them know that so they feel acknowledged. What's turning towards? Turning towards, when Gottman watched couples, they had cameras, different things. And when they did their research and really watched them, they saw when couples turned towards each other physically or with words, and when they turned away. So when I'm talking to my partner, if my partner put their phone down and looked at me, they're turning towards. That's a positive bid. That's turning towards, and it's a positive bid. But turning away or a negative bid would be ignoring or even just dismissing is another thing to think about. Just sort of dismissing what they say, not really listening. Oh, I know them. I know what they're saying. I don't need to pay attention. You don't want to be multitasking when it comes to your partner. My wife would say all the time, when you're finished on the computer, talk to me. And so you shouldn't be multitasking when you're with your partner. So towards turn towards love. Turn towards your partner. What could be more important than that? Making that choice. And those little choices throughout the day are what builds up overall positivity in your relationship. That positive perspective is also really important. What does that mean? That means that now you love this person unconditionally and you give them the benefit of the doubt. You don't jump to conclusions about them. You're not foolish, but you give them the benefit of the doubt. You ultimately believe in who they authentically and truly are. Now, sometimes that trust can be broken, and that's a different circumstance, and then you need to be working with professionals to work on that relationship. But building that positivity, and part of the positivity is giving your partner the benefit of the doubt and caring for them and creating a positive environment. Now, that's your foundation, that friendship, that rock solid friendship. And I don't know how your relationship started, but my wife and I were friends before we dated. We were dating other people and we were very good friends for years. Now, it was kind of scary to transition from being friends to more because you're like, I don't want to lose this friendship. But I do think that it can be really important to build that friendship. And we started with that friendship. So I think that can be a really good thing too. But even if you didn't start with a friendship, building that friendship is really important. And those are some ways you can do it listed there. The love maps, the shared fondness and admiration, turning towards each other, that overall positive perspective. And we're going to talk more about how Gottman found positivity is everything in a relationship. But that's the foundation. And then the house is managing conflict. You see, we don't say resolving conflict because conflict doesn't always get resolved, but it can be managed. You don't have to agree on everything. You can agree to disagree, but you should be able to talk about and manage the conflict in a respective, loving way. And we'll talk more about how to do that in just a bit. The walls, you don't see them here because I'd have to make diagonal things, and I created this little house here for you. The walls actually, on one side, one full wall of the house is trust. Trusting. Can you trust your partner? Do you have a foundation of trust that built off that friendship? Now you trust each other. I primarily worked with women my whole life. And so my best friend, who was the best man at my wedding, is a woman. So my wife has to really trust that there is only one person I want to be with since we've been married. She is my one and only, and she has to trust that, and I have to trust the same with her. So trust is a really important thing. Sometimes that trust can be broken, and trust cannot be put right back together. You can't just throw the wall back up. You have to build it back up, tiny piece by piece. And so trust can be broken and it can be challenging, but trust is one of the walls and commitment is the other wall. That's really important because sometimes when couples come to see us, when they come into couple therapy, what I found is that it's always dangling over the head. Well, if this doesn't get better, I'm leaving. And it's always every argument. I can't stay in this relationship. That is a really hard way to work on a relationship. It's really helpful if you work from a foundation. I'm not going anywhere, but this has to change and we have to make it better. Rather than if this doesn't happen, if these conditions don't occur, I'm going to walk. That can be a really hard place to work from, but I also understand how that can happen in some relationships and does happen in Sometimes I've certainly worked with couples who were in that place. But commitment and trust are the walls of the house. That's what holds it up in the middle, and managing the conflict in the middle. And if there's not trust and commitment, managing the conflict becomes unbelievably difficult. The attic, or the upper part of the house, is creating shared meaning. Can we share our hopes and dreams for the future? And can we create shared meaning? Meaning is unbelievably important. If you've never read the work of if you've never read the work of Viktor Frankl, I would highly recommend that you read Man's Search for Meaning. Um, he has done amazing work and has shown that man can face horrific circumstances like he did in Auschwitz and the prisons of Nazi Germany, if and when he has and can find meaning in life. So meaning is monumentally important. So creating shared meaning is the top of the house in our sound relationship, our sound house relationship. So how do we manage conflict? Conflict is inevitable. If you are apathetic, this is not good for a relationship. Conflict's inevitable. My wife and I, sometimes we drive each other insane. We love each other, and I wouldn't have done this with anyone else in the whole universe than her. I wouldn't trade her for anything, but I will tell you that sometimes we drive each other crazy. Sometimes we see the same exact situation so incredibly differently that we walk out of a room, we start talking, we're like, were we in the same room? Because that is not what I took away from that. And sometimes that is one of the sources of our conflict, but conflict is inevitable. But healthy couples know how to manage it and get through it with good communication. Communication is unbelievably important. And I've talked before, and I will say again, there are more than one valid realities. Your partner has an equally valid reality of what happened from their perspective versus what happened from your perspective. Both of those perspectives and realities are real, and they're both valid. So don't dismiss your partners. They don't cancel each other. They're both important. The way you saw it, the way it happened, the way things occurred. And we'll talk about how you talk to each other. So when you're talking through this with communication, though, because you're like, well, this is what happened, and I'm sure I know what happened. This is the truth of it. But your truth may be different than their truth. You may have experienced it completely differently, which shaded the way you experienced it. But the speaker's job is not to blame, to eliminate you statements. If you're saying you, remember that one finger's pointing at your partner and all the rest of the fingers are pointing back at you. So you want to take away the you. No one wants to be criticized. No one wants to be attacked. Hearing you did this, you are this, you are flawed, whatever it is, can be challenging. Instead, we replace it with I statements. I feel this. I experience this. I am frustrated by this. Talk about your feelings using your I statements. Describe the need. So I felt this and I need this. This is what we teach couples on how to communicate differently. It may feel very foreign to you in the beginning, but research shows it works. So, but if you start with, okay, you're supposed to say, I feel, what's the feeling? I feel you're nasty. Folks, that's not a feeling. I feel hurt. I feel frustrated. I feel upset. So let's say that you had a check on your desk, and your desk is sort of your space, and you've kind of agreed, don't mess with that. And the check is missing. So you go to your spouse. You could go to them and be like, this check is missing. You always rearrange things. And I told you don't bother my desk. And it's so frustrating to me. It's like you have to touch everything. And then you must have taken that check because it's not on the desk anymore. And I'm just incredibly upset. And okay, so you're venting your frustration. I can't believe you did that. It's like you have to clean everything. You have to have everything right. You're sort of OCD. Okay, none of this is going to be productive. But instead, if you approach it with, can we sit down and talk about this? This is really important to me. I wanted to let you know that I feel frustrated knowing that you took the check off the desk and deposited it when we've talked about that being my space, and I need you to respect that space. And I don't mind if you take the check and deposit it, but Now I'm looking for it and it's missing, and that's challenging for me. And I really need you to respect my space and communicate with me when you do things like that. I feel this, I need this. And so that's how you turn you statements into I statements. So it should be a couple sentences. If you do a dissertation, it's going to be difficult for the listener to reiterate it back. So that's not going to work. Trust me. Couple sentences. I feel blank when this occurred. You don't have to go on and on. You both know what it is. And I need this from you. I feel I felt this. I need this from you. The listener's job, super important for them to attune to you, to listen to you, to empathetically join with you. So they need to hear the speaker. What is their perspective? This is a person I love. What are they trying to help me understand? And they need to be prepared, because when they're done, they're going to summarize back to the speaker what they heard. So I understood you saying that you were really frustrated and upset that I deposited the check, and that you need me to respect your space and communicate to you when I do something like that. Is that correct? You may ask for clarification. Did you not want me to deposit it, or is it okay that I deposited it? You can ask for clarification as you move along, but first you're restating. The person did not receive, let's say your message is this ball that you're throwing, and you're trying to throw it really nice and gentle at them. So you're softening it and you're trying to make sure they catch it, but you cannot confirm they caught it until they reiterate back to you what you said to them. The message really hasn't been sent completely until you have heard back that reiteration. The listener's job is to reiterate. So if you're sitting there and in your mind, you're thinking, I don't do that. I never touch your check. And I was trying to help you. I can't believe. That's called defensiveness. And you're not even hearing what the speaker's saying, because you're creating your defense in your brain while they're speaking. This person that you love, that you're trying to understand and be empathetic to. So you want to hear the speaker, you want to summarize what they said, and do not try and defend yourself. Leave that out. Take yourself out of it and put all of your care, loving, and longing into understanding your partner. That's the listener's job. And then, so when you reiterate it, it does two things that are really, really helpful to your partner. One is, did I get this message right? Did I hear you right? Did I miss anything? And what you said is important. And that's why I want to make sure that I say back to you that I'm really listening and hear what you say. That's the two functions of that for the listener. You're acknowledging that person you love, and you're reiterating to make sure you got the information correct. All right. So Gottman's theory says that one of the biggest reasons marriages end is a loss of positive feelings, not an increase in negative feelings. So you'd think, oh, there's so much negativity in this relationship. That's what's killing it. But what kills a marriage is there's nothing positive there anymore. The positivity has fallen out of the relationship. So there's not, what do you fight for when there's nothing positive left in that relationship? So that's where I was saying earlier, the research, the scientific research that was done by Gottman and others using the same theory, has found over and over that positivity is the most important thing in a relationship. There has to be positivity. Help making that person feel loved, feel treasured, doing things for them, acts of kindness, words of affirmation, different love languages that build up positivity in that relationship. We'll talk more about it. So when we think about it and we watch a couple, when they watched couples in the research, what did they find? Happy couples, there were 20 positive bids, 20 positive things they saw for every one negative thing. How about a healthy couple during conflict? When they're arguing, even during conflict, this is so cool. 5 positives for each negative in a healthy couple. When they're disagreeing, there's still 5 positives for each negative. A soon-to-divorce couple, this is kind of surprising. It's almost 1-to-1. There's still a positive for each negative. Not quite, but close. So positivity is incredibly important for a relationship to succeed. That's what Gottman discovered. So that positive sentiment override, we talked about giving benefit of the doubt and believing. Here's another thing. So not only giving them the benefit of the doubt, but believing we are on the same team. I work at the VA too. So at the VA with my couples, it's like you are not on opposite sides of a war. You are on the same side. You are pulling each other up out of the trenches and helping each other to survive this difficult terrain. So you are on the same team. So that positive sentiment override means we give each other the benefit of the doubt. We ultimately think good of each other, believe in each other, and know that we are on the same team. So that is how you use a positive filter. 4 components of a positive filter are interest, that you're interested in your partner. We talked about that earlier with the turning towards, that you're affectionate. Don't underestimate the power of affectionate. What are you doing right now? Are you holding your partner's hand? Are you cuddling as you listen to this? Are you, and you don't have to be necessarily, but how do you physically show that person that you love them? You touch the small of their back. You kiss the back of their neck. You let them know that they are your treasured one. Affection. Humor, but used properly, never at others' expense, often at our own expense maybe, but not at others' expense, but humor. Appropriate humor. Laughing together. Super powerful, wonderful thing. Laughter is such a beautiful thing. That's one of the greatest things with the people I really connect with, my best friend, my wife, to laugh really deep, so hard that it hurts is a wonderful thing. Humor, used properly, can be a wonderful thing. Validation. What could be more important than feeling validated? Your partner feeling acknowledged and validated. And what I've found with my couples is, like one woman said, I feel like I'm an afterthought. I basically feel like I'm an afterthought for him. He takes care of everything. He takes care of the church. He takes care of this. He takes care of this person, anything anybody needs. But me, I'm an afterthought. The treasure and love of your life should not feel like an afterthought. It's like a bank account. You build up the positivity so that when you withdraw and have conflict and negativity, you don't go bankrupt. You've built up every day, throughout the day. Healthy couples make positive choices to turn towards each other, to build affection, to build adoration, to really build positivity between them. So that then, when the inevitable disagreements will happen, the bank is still robust. There's still plenty of money in there in terms of positivity in the relationship. So building positive routines is really important. Research has found. So what does that mean? It means turning off the media, turning off the videos, turning off the screens, and engaging with each other, truly engaging with this person you love. And healthy couples spend an extra 5 hours together a week. I worry so much now about connectedness because we're so busy with our phones and our screens. And I know you've probably been to dinner and looked around and thought, oh my gosh, most of the people in here are on their phones. Many of them are couples and they are not even making eye to eye contact or interacting or engaging with each other. They're engaging with their phones. Nothing replaces human interaction, person to person interaction. It is incredibly important and we are hardwired for it. 5 hours a week, that's less than 1 hour a day, but dedicating time and energy, investing in. I say there's 2 things that could not be more important in your life to invest in. One is your health, and the other is your relationships with and your friendships with loved ones. Those are the 2 most critical things. You can never go wrong with investments in those things. And this is what this research is showing us. So there's 4 major problematic fighting behaviors, and they were nicknamed the 4 horsemen because they slay a relationship, is what John Gottman says. Who likes to be criticized out there? Anybody? I know I don't. Nobody. There is a shared human experience, and none of us like to be criticized. No one. Criticism, when it's done wrong, it becomes very personal. It becomes overgeneralized. Expletives. You always, you never, you are. It's a character attack rather than, I feel frustrated when this happened or this occurred. Even not saying when you did this or you. I feel frustrated when this happened or this occurred. It always happens. You know, it always happens. This is now becoming critical and nobody wants that. So we're going to talk about how to do it differently. First horseman, criticism. Second one, defensiveness. I don't do that. What do you mean? I don't do that kind of thing. I can't believe you're even saying that. This is what your mind is reeling and saying while they're talking. So you're missing what they're saying, and that this person is hurt or upset that you love and you want to understand. But how can you understand and empathize with them when you're not even listening because you're defensive? So this is when you feel like you're attacked, and it comes out in your tone, in your posture, in the different things that you're doing. Sometimes it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. My wife tells me that all the time, and I think it's absolutely true. And remember, I teach this and I mess it up. I'm sure my wife could tell you how I mess it up a lot too, because we all fall into these traps. So criticism, now we have defensiveness as the second horseman. Then we have contempt, where it's a general disrespect. It's so sad, but so many of my couples will sit in couple therapy and say, I feel completely disrespected by my partner. I do not feel loved. I do not feel secure. And it's really upsetting to me. So you feel like you're attacked, like you're being disrespected, or it can be, and I've seen where it's funny. I have couples where one of them, it's very blatant, it's very real, but the other one digs the knife in just as deep in a very passive aggressive way. They know exactly how to get to their partner and they dig in. So eye rolling, put downs. I've seen people, name calling. I've seen it all. Sometimes I'll let them fight just a little in the session just to see how they fight and how it goes. Sometimes my colleagues down the hall are like, wow, that got pretty loud. But generally mean comments. I mean, things that I've heard some really hurtful things said. And I think, wow, this is in couple therapy where you're probably on your best behavior. Contempt. So we got criticism, we got defensiveness, contempt, and finally, so you say, I won't say anything. Contempt is disrespect, all these things we talked about, but then you're like, okay, I can't do anything right, I won't say anything. Well, that's called stonewalling, the silent treatment. Your eyes are glazed over, you're not listening, you are refusing to talk about anything because everything you say is wrong, right? That's another thing couples come in and say a lot of times. I can't do anything right in their eyes. There's nothing I can do right. And I find sometimes when it's gone to this place, even when they've done something wonderful, I've seen people turn. Here's an example. This couple was talking about their how he had stepped up and done a really good job this week. That was her positive thing she wanted to share with him. And when she did that, he's like, oh, like I don't do that all the time. And he turned it into a fight. This is not good. Even positivity can turn into criticism and negativity. But stonewalling, where you have to communicate, you have to talk, it's a critical component of connection. So what do we do instead? Instead of criticizing, be specific. Talk about this particular issue and don't use expletives like always. No global statements. How do we combat defensiveness? Accept responsibility for some part of it. That's why I think my wife and I have been so successful in our communication is after we walk away, even if the other person did something really upsetting, I still received it in difficult ways. I still can find things that I did wrong too. Both of us do that. So we come back to it and say, I thought about it a lot and I shouldn't have reacted this way. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have jumped to a conclusion. I shouldn't have whatever. So taking some responsibility for things falling apart, I think can be really, really helpful. And then sometimes letting go of shame and blame, and who cares about whose fault it is? How do we fix the problem? We're so caught up in shame and blame that we don't get to. So what do we do about the fact that somebody's got to pick the kids up and you have to work and I have to do this and it's a challenge? So how do we fix the problem? Get rid of the shame and blame and focus on fixing the problem. Instead of contempt, find something positive. This is a person you love. This is the love of your life. Find something positive, even if it's minimally related, to think about when you're thinking about that person. Remember, this is the person you love. Contempt does not belong in this loving relationship. Force yourself to adopt an open body posture. It's not always easy. Uncross your arms, unclench your muscles, check your body posture, and get it in check by trying to relax and be more open. Stonewalling, take time outs. If you need to take a break, it's okay. If things get too heated, let's walk away from this. Let's come back to it tomorrow morning and talk about it again. But don't forget, you have to return. That will kill the relationship too if you don't return to it. You can also practice relaxation exercises. Sometimes you need to take a break just to deep breathe and relax yourself because you're getting uptight and holding tension because you're so frustrated with the discussion. So a break can be really helpful. But you have to come back to it and make a plan to come back to it. Why do things get gridlocked? Why do they get gridlocked? And that's because you think that this is about the fact that someone was 5 minutes late, but the underlying perpetual problem is control. You feel like you're being controlled by that person because they like to go last minute and you like to be early. So the underlying perpetual problem is not being handled correctly. It's not the surface simple. You think we argue over such stupid things. You're not arguing over those stupid things. You're arguing over the underlying perpetual issues like control or feeling disrespected or whatever that is. Both parties may feel criticized, rejected, or unaccepted. And when you feel that, you're gridlocked. You're not in a place. You're so hung up in how hurt you are and how upset you are, you're not open to how hurt and upset your partner is. And the discussions can be really uncomfortable when it's like this. That's for sure. There can also be underlying hidden agendas. So you want to talk about something, but the real reason you want to talk about it. So like, for example, one of my couples said, well, I'm just asking questions. It's not like I'm attacking or criticizing, but questions can be critical. For example, did you have to stop by your friend's house before you came home? Is that a criticism or a question? So, do you have to have a drink every time you go to wiffle ball or whatever? I don't even know where that came from, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so underlying hidden agendas. And so remember that criticism can come out in a lot of ways. Sometimes a simple question can be felt as a criticism. And it's not, even if you didn't mean to deliver it that way, if your partner received it that way, it's something you need to think about and work on. In discussions, couples spin their wheels. They go round and round. They get back to their same points, their same things, the same conversation over and over and over, and they don't get anywhere. That's called gridlock. So we try to, another thing that can be really helpful is we take a particular disagreement and we process it. We talk about, okay, when you had your disagreement, what happened? Tell me about it from start to finish, both of you from your own perspectives, because I want to hear both equally valid perspectives. Now let's pull it apart and see what was helpful, what was hurtful, and what was the perpetual issue underneath the seemingly silly argument or ridiculous argument. But why don't we talk about it? Because we're embarrassed, because it can be uncomfortable, dealing with emotions or even talking about or sitting in emotions. It's not pleasant to feel angry, sad, or betrayed, especially by someone you love. This is the person you love the most in the world, and now you feel betrayed or hurt or angry. It's not easy. But to talk about the fight in a loving way, sometimes we can learn a lot about what went so wrong with it, And that's always means I look at me, you look at you. I do me. That's more than enough. You do you. But if we look at the fight and I pick apart what you did instead of only me, I can't focus on you. That's going to get me nowhere. I can understand you, but I can't fix or do anything about you. I can only do me. That's really important in couple therapy. This is enough to do. Remember that. So am I being the best me in this relationship, and how can I be the best me in this relationship? Super, super important. And that is more than a big enough job. Don't spend any of your energy focusing on your partner and what they could do different, because you can't change You can't do anyone but you. You can't change anyone but you. Your partner may change, and God willing, they will change and it will get better. But you can only change you. That's the reality. The only things you have control over is your response to things, how you respond to things, and what you do about things. You don't have control over what others do. You have only control over how you receive it and what you do with it. Sometimes you can have emotional overload. You can get flooded. Certainly, some of my couples who have PTSD or history of sexual trauma or anything like that can get, or depression, can get overloaded and flooded. That means it's time for a break. So you want to take a break and then a time out and then set a time to come back and work on it. So how do we discuss perpetual problems? Just to kind of recap some of the things we were talking about: avoid the 4 horsemen, be specific, forget who's at fault, accept some of the blame and fix it, fix it, fix it. Get rid of the blame and shame. Find something positive to say. We talked about all those things. Use I statements, reiterate if you're the listener. Be concise. Don't go on and on because it's hard to reiterate when someone goes on and on. Watch your body posture. Use positive bids, which are gentle, open, supportive efforts. Restate your feelings as softer emotions, anger, sadness, or anxiety, rather than rage, castration, whatever you want to say. Create and use an eject button. That's how you take a break. And then if you take a time out, don't forget to make a plan to come back to the discussion again, and don't just leave it unresolved or things unsaid. How do we improve intimacy then on top of this? Well, here are some things, and this is from Gottman again: connecting emotionally, taking time with your partner. We talked about time is the greatest gift you can give your partner. It's the greatest gift you can give them. Take time to know who they really are and show genuine interest in them. Communicate your needs in a loving way. Increase physical touch. We talked about affection and how important it can be. Increase intimate communication. That's why we have to resolve the conflict so we can connect deeper. Show appreciation. Let's talk about, for example, when you're sitting over the dinner table or at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day. One couple called it pillow talk. So in bed, not when you're being sexual so much, but when you're laying there talking, pillow talk. This is what I really appreciated about you this week. This is what really meant a lot to me that you did this week. Acknowledge your partner. They don't want to feel invisible. I have this one guy who said, I'm like Mr. Invisible. They make all these decisions, they move forward with plans, and they don't even include me in them or engage me in them in any way, shape, or form. And they wonder why I'm frustrated. Everybody wants to be acknowledged. Being vulnerable is different, but it's the only path to love and creativity. Try something new, something fun, something different together. That can be really exciting too. The same old can be challenging. So try something new together. Make sex and intimacy a priority. It's not going to happen unless you make it a priority. Use the right love language. There's 5 love languages, and you can learn more of that. Gary Chapman is the author of that. You can go to the5lovelanguages.com. And remember, your love language may be primary one, may be different than your partner's love language. So remember, you want to make sure you're speaking your partner's primary language as well as some of the other love languages, because they're all important. And just because this is your primary language, for example, yours might be gifts. So you bought your partner a car and think it's the greatest thing in the world, when what they really need from you is service. They need you to do things for them and help them in certain ways, because that's their love language. Or words of affirmation. And their primary language is not being upheld. So the love languages are really helpful. I do use that with my couples as well. And then just have fun together. It's supposed to be fun. Don't make it not fun. Intimacy and relationships are supposed to be fun. So enjoy each other. Those are just some tips on improving intimacy. Here's some resources. You can certainly go to this. Now you know you have these different videos. We're going to have lots of different people coming up. Dr. Littner will join us on April 15th. Dr. Brenna Moore will join us at the beginning of May. We have several different relationship therapists joining us in the next 2 months. So be sure and come back and join us for those. or watch them on the recorded version. ASEC is where you can find a therapist, especially with sexual issues, couple issues. It stands for the American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists. And so you can find therapists there. Sexual Health Matters is sexual health medicine if you're looking for information on sexual issues. The Gottman Institute has all kinds of great stuff, and you can learn all about the things we talked about this evening and the science behind it. You can get books, you can find therapists, all kinds of good things. The 5 Love Languages, that resource is there as well. Lots of stuff we unpacked tonight, that is for sure. So I think that's all I have in terms of the presentation. So let's talk a little about things and see what questions you may have. Vic, thank you for joining me this
Yeah, that was great, Jeff. Don't see any comments coming in yet, so I thought I'd go through a couple of things that I was thinking of. The one thing I was really liked was this house analogy that you had in the beginning, especially where the foundation is friendship. I think sometimes that gets overlooked, that if you've got a house with a bad foundation, it's not going to hold up. And the same thing, if you've got a bad friendship, it's not going to work.
People don't understand how incredibly important that friendship is. It is literally the foundation to your marriage. So that is monumentally important. And that's what the research showed. So, and it's a funny thing because we have talked and we heard people talk about with intimacy sometimes that I think Dr. McCarthy was talking about that friendship model, especially when you're too good of friends and feel like you're such good friends and it feels weird to move into sex and intimacy, but it doesn't have to be that way. That friendship is monumentally important, but you can still have sex and intimacy as well. But that friendship is the foundation of a good relationship, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And I kind of wonder how much these things
Mm.
affect intimacy. Nothing worse than when somebody's looking at their phone and not you. I think it really just can be a big problem. I know from personally for me, one of my big rules is no television on when we're eating, when we're having dinner. I said, I'd like to be able to enjoy conversation with folks and not have TV playing in the background. And it's just, what are your thoughts on these outside distractions, phones and television and social media and all that?
I think I will tell you that with my couples that I've worked with, it is a huge source of frustration and upset for those couples. And so I think you've hit the nail on the head, and I think it's really, really super important. So I do think that that you're right there. It's something that's really, really important for us to think about and remember. And so I think putting your phone down is a real gift. The screens, I just think there's so much distraction. I'm sure you've been in restaurants where you look around and you're just like,
Yeah.
this is insane. This is just crazy. And I think giving someone your undivided attention is a great gift. I
Yep.
heard someone say once that one of the most amazing things about Mother Teresa is that she would be fully present with you when you were in her presence. And that was a
Mhm.
real gift that she gave both the people she cared for who were dying, but also the other people. So I think being fully present with the people we love is super, super important. Definitely.
And I threw this question out here. How do you maintain or rebuild intimacy after periods of distance or conflict?
That's a great question, Vic. And we do use, and I know if you tuned in when Dr. Kellogg was on, we talked about sensate focus. So, and it's so interesting. I was just working with a couple actually who was saying, we don't even know where to begin. Well, first off, Esther Perel has tools. Where do we begin that you can go out there and find for one thing? But here's the thing. Sometimes you have to start over, especially when you haven't been intimate or sexual for a while. Start over. Take intercourse and those kinds of things off the table and begin again with just affection, with talking and engaging with each other more deeply. So with Sensate Focus, there's 4 levels that we use, 4 levels. And the first one is just kissing, cuddling, touching, but no breast or chest play. And then the second one is chest and breast play are okay, but no genital play. The third one is genital play is okay, but no penetration, intercourse type things. And the fourth one is everything's okay. Intercourse, outer course, everything. So usually we take a couple back to stage one. Okay, let's take all the things off the table and just get used to being affectionate and loving towards each other again. Like when you were dating, when you started in the beginning, and start over that way and work your way back towards more intimacy, chest and breast play, and then move into genital play and then sex. But we kind of start over. We step all the way back and start again. And it happens with a lot of couples that you got to think 1 out of 5 uh, marriages, long-term relationships can be non-sexual. They have sex less than 10 times a year or less. So there are couples out there that are struggling with that. And so starting over can be really helpful. And there's plenty of therapists that can help you do that too. But just sort of beginning again, all over again. It's a great question. And I think it can be really challenging.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I watch some reality TV. I'll be honest with it. So I'm watching this one show. It's about these couples. It's I don't know if you've seen it. It's called 90 Day Fiance, where
Mm,
they bring in somebody from abroad to marry, and anyway, so this is where they're actually seeing therapists because they're having trouble.
mhm,
And I thought the most common thing that I saw with all these couples is they weren't having sex. Not like
mm.
they're married and they're having, a lot of problems, but they never even seem to have sex. And I think that sometimes it's underestimated the necessity for sex in a relationship.
Mhm. Yes, I think it's something though that a couple can choose together. What do they want to do? How comfortable do they feel or whatever? I think it is something that they can choose together. And some couples may lovingly, caringly choose to not be sexual. They can still be intimate on many levels, but not be sexual anymore. And I think if that works for a couple, that's okay. There's no definitive right or wrong. So I think there's lots of ways to do it. So yeah, I think that can be really helpful. So, but good questions, Vic.
No problem.
So let's look at what's coming up next week, and then we'll go to our closer. So next week, episode 8 is going to be awesome. That is on February 25th at 7 p.m. And we are going to be working on with Dr. Suzanne Qualish, who is an expert in hypogonadism and testosterone deficiency. And she will be talking about and helping us in understanding testosterone deficiency in men. It's going to be a great episode. I hope you'll be back next week for that.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook because we do need 100 followers so we can stream live. Let's do our closer and close out the evening. And first, I just want to thank you so much for being with us this evening, for wanting to learn more about this relation, about your relationship, to strengthen your relationship, to put time and energy into one of the most important resources in your life, the love of your life. So let's get comfortable, get in a comfortable position, whatever that is for you, an open, comfortable position. You can be laying, sitting. Let's center and ground ourselves by taking some 4 to 5 count deep breaths in and gently exhaling for 4 to 5 counts out. Breathe in. Breathe out 4 or 5 counts. And as you exhale, wherever you feel tension in your body, identify it as you keep breathing and release it each time you exhale. As you breathe, know that you are created for deep, meaningful connection. You are worthy of love, and so is your partner. Love is worth your time and your effort. So go love, go live more. Enjoy. As you continue to breathe deeply, remember these things. What could be more important than investing in your health and in your relationship, especially with the love of your life? everything you do and put into that relationship comes back to you tenfold. How can I be the best me in that relationship? That's what we're always working towards. We thank you so much for joining us this evening. And if you joined us on the recorded version or live, we are so glad you were here. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and we hope it's been helpful. Look up some of those resources and invest in your love life. It's so worth it. Thank you.